Hello and welcome to this Tuesday, August 20th, 2019 episode of Apple Sidekick. Now, today's episode is about the iPad Maxi. The Maxi iPad, whatever it's called. Apple's naming scheme has kind of gotten out of hand with now rumors of the iPhone Pro and the iPad Pro and the iPad Air, and then you got the iPhone, the XR, 10R. I don't think anyone, including the people at Apple, know what the heck is going on. I think Steve Jobs should be like, what are you guys doing? Some of the things that Apple's doing is great. Other things that Apple's doing is not so great. And I think the big thing to talk about here is the iPad. We're starting to really see the iPad offer more. And it should be a laptop replacement, and yet there are still some simple things that are not quite right. We will see here in another month or so exactly what happens next month in September, in October. If there's some major drastic changes. We know that there are drastic changes, but we need the reliability. And Apple has been messing up. They just released 12.4. Luckily, I'm on 12.3 on my iPhone 10 because if I would have updated, which it's still telling me to update, I would open myself up to a vulnerability. And it reopened a previous vulnerability, and it doesn't make any darn sense. I mean, why? Uh-oh. Hello. Test. I don't know if my mic's working right. All right. I'm sorry. I'm looking like an idiot. Okay. Yeah, my microphone is working now. Okay. So my standards for myself, as you can see, I'm not shaven or anything like that. Tim Cook has much more together than I do. He's a much more reliable human being. He can run Apple much better than I would be able to run Apple. But there is a difference between Tim and myself. While I would do his job if I had to, that's not exactly what I'm supposed to be focused on. And that's why I'm in the trenches with what I'm doing and working to build basically Apple spaces that are, HomeKit automated spaces that are completely connected. But I'm getting kind of concerned because it's like I want to use the iPad, and when they're reopening previous vulnerabilities at a time when they should be securing things further, they've got the cash, they need to be making investments, and I don't understand why they're not investing more in America. And I really hope that neither Tim Cook or Donald Trump know what it's like to really be an American that voted for Donald Trump. Or an American that voted against. They really have no clue. They're kind of both like aliens, and that's nothing against either of them. I mean, both of them do some things right. Both of them do some things wrong. We all are human. We all make mistakes. That's the thing. Is we're so busy pointing fingers at everyone, like this person sucks, and they can't do this, and they can't do that. Sometimes it's hard because we're all a little angry at things. But in reality, we need to look at what are we doing ourselves. And that's what I had to really look at with myself. I've had to take a really good look at myself and say, okay, I am strong in some areas and weak in other areas. And Apple is strengthening some things that they need to for the market, but like Apple Pay, the credit card is just finally now available, that kind of thing. But then we're seeing our privacy and we're seeing our devices vulnerable to these things. Our privacy is exposed on a daily basis by all the competitors. It's just if we're putting so much faith in Apple, that's my concern. My concern is putting too much faith in Apple at a time when they're exposing us to things that we shouldn't be exposed to. I almost feel like Tim Cook isn't in the grind enough. I feel like he doesn't get the tech enough. I feel like there needs to be a massive investment in manufacturing in America. Early on, Steve Jobs built his own factories. Now it's time to build up factories in America again. We had the period where we now can the other countries learned from our innovation and now have grown off of our innovations where we were, 30 years behind. Well, now that 30 years has caught up, now they're all 30 years behind and we can go with the latest. Not that they're all 30 years behind, but they're not all up to date. All this building and construction that's happened, some of it has been innovative, but a lot of it has just been taking the same and replicating it. They didn't do the massive innovations. That's where America really wins, because no one's going to innovate in a country where that innovation is going to go to someone else. They'll do it to an extent, but then the second they can go elsewhere, they're going to, whether it's America, another company, whatever. As Americans, we've never really seen that, but we've seen that dictatorship within organizations. And I think that Apple is almost like a dictatorship now, because we've got someone that is very alien-like to most of the world. He's a single gay male. I don't know if he's in a relationship or not. He wakes up at like 4:30 in the morning. He is in charge of a $1 trillion company. How can he really relate to the people that are using these devices? We're seeing they're holding things steady, but on the experience, the user experience, things are getting better, yes, but they're also getting worse in other areas. We need to really be honest about things. Yes, the iPad is improving, but it's not where it should be right now. Yes, Apple is innovating and has come out with HomePod and AirPods and these new services, Apple Music and Apple TV Plus and the Apple Arcade. They're cool, but are they game changers? I don't know. I'm stuck in the Apple ecosystem. There's no way out because Microsoft can't compete right now. But now Microsoft is still a bigger company. They've surpassed Apple. Apple's falling behind. Microsoft is taking over the world with AI. Now, this is an Apple Sidekick podcast, and I love Apple devices. All my devices are Apple. When I use Microsoft devices, I'm not super thrilled. But what I am saying is that there's actually a threat to Apple. For the first time, it's not a deep threat, but it's a threat because of the vulnerabilities and Tim Cook not getting a handle on certain things. This is where Tim needs to be investing money, and he's starting to, and with the bounties and all of that, to help. But he needs to invest in manufacturing in America. There's just no way around it, and I don't think people understand why that's so important. We've got to have the engineers. We've got to have the talents, and not just in Silicon Valley. We've got to have them in Michigan. Michigan was Silicon Valley when my wife was a kid, even. Like, people don't get that Flint and Detroit were some of the top places in the country as far as median incomes. Detroit was just poisoned. There's this whole Flint was just poisoned, and they've got a little bit talking about it. The media covered it. Some actors and stuff like that have come around to help things. They're replacing things, but this is going to be a national problem. We've got to focus on our infrastructure. We've got to focus on rebuilding. And that's how we do it. When these companies build these factories in America, Apple needs to start building their own factories. Now is the time. Look at Elon. That's why Elon Musk is so inspiring, because he's building his own factories. Because he's actually creating physical footprints, and I think they're kind of too big. I think that it can be done decentralized in manufacturing villages, but that are connected to larger areas. I'm talking about manufacturing villages that manufacture Tesla vehicles, Apple technologies, housing, space, that build the things that need to be built, creating a supply chain inside of America, putting people back to work, and making people understand that they are now cyborgs. They are a combination of themselves and technology. They have been during the whole industrial age. Now we're just far more powerful with artificial intelligence, not just physical intelligence like tools. Now we've got this artificial intelligence that we can program. And Apple has enabled the best experience for the person. They need to step up into manufacturing. But as far as personal technology, there is no one that has what Apple has. Tim Cook has really stayed true to that. But he's got all this cash, and he's just giving it back to investors. By doing all the stock buybacks and all that, he needs to be invested in manufacturing. It ticked me off that he's not. In 2020, within a year, they could be building manufacturing plants all over America. Look at how fast the Tesla factory is going up in China. We need to take our education system back. We need to take back how we are educating kids. We need to take back the bashing on manufacturing, and not keep saying, oh, all the manufacturing jobs are going to be gone. They are not going to be gone. They're just different. You just are more powerful than ever before. You as an individual are now more powerful than ever before. You don't have to cooperate with all the idiots. It's iPad. It's iPhone. This is about you. This was supposed to be about the iPad, and I'm going to bring it back around to my purpose. Apple is spending more time and energy on naming schemes and making that all goofy than they are manufacturing in America. And that's sad. Because Tim Cook's like, well, we're global, and we do this and we do that. And yes, you do. You do manufacture stuff in America. You do have created a lot of jobs. But you should be manufacturing in America. You need to be contributing back to America, because America is a special test bed that's unlike anywhere else in the world. It's bottom line. The opportunity is incredible. And you shouldn't have the iPhone 10s Max, because then it's like the iPad Max. Oh no, that's there's no iPad Max. There's just an iPad 10.5 and iPad 12.9, and then they don't talk about the screen size as much of the iPhone, and it's getting confusing. It's not completely confusing. It's much better than the competition. But stop spending so much time on these stupid naming schemes if you're not even going to focus on manufacturing. It's time to focus on manufacturing. It's time to give back. Stop giving back so much to your investors. I know you finally said we're going to care more about the communities. Now's the time. Now is the time. Thank you for another episode of Apple Sidekick. I know it's not the standard Apple podcast, because this is my unique take on Apple. This is my unique take on inspiring people to inspire the Apple ecosystem, make changes, make adjustments. Everything I say is my own thoughts and opinions, and they may change. I hope you understand that. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I say things without quite thinking them through. They're fragments of thoughts, and the reality of things is that I want manufacturing in America to happen, and I'm going to do something about it. I'm doing something about it. That's what this podcast is for, to put these ideas out in people's heads and say, oh, you're talking about this because you want to manufacture iPads in America. And I do. I intend on manufacturing iPads for Apple in America. Thank you for another episode of Apple Sidekick. To check out how we are starting this, how we're beginning, go to inspirelansing.com. There's going to be a lot more in the works. You're going to understand a lot more of what I'm working on. HappyHeroStudio.com explains a little bit more. But watch my other videos. Start thinking about what I'm talking about and opening your mind to new possibilities. Apple manufacturing villages of the future. They're going to be Apple and Tesla manufacturing villages of the future. And that's what I'm working on. That's what these podcasts are about. Thank you. Have a great day.